we don't know how many of us still exist that openly and can historically claim their Native American heritage. Thank you for that long, drawn-out question and giving me the opportunity to share.
Hey, that's what you're here for.
Thank you.
I love that. The pen is mightier than the sword.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
Paper genocide.
Paper
that
genocide.
was a real thing. How did Europeans write us out from being native to this land to then being blacks and coloreds and all of those things?
So I'll simplify it in this selfish way. If you don't read my language, you don't understand my way of thinking, and you are supportive of me, you need me to teach you of my ways. And whatever I tell you is facts.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So that paper genocide happened real simplistically because as they put us in slavery, they was also raising children. And they was educating these children. And it goes back just simply to, what's your name?
Caleb.
Caleb. No, your name is Toby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
What's your name?
Now I have to say Toby. I'll be forced to. Yeah.
Why? And it's not something you would just easily get. And the education system is the same way. The paper genocide runs deep. Because think about this. Today, we can go to Native events called powwows.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a situation that there is not a universal word. There was never a word called powwow amongst the Native American people.
Wow.
I've never found that word in any native language, from my understanding. I could be correct. I could be corrected. I don't mind being wrong. But powwow, which I'm pretty sure has a relationship, every word has a root, right? But this is not something universally spoken amongst Native American people because we don't have a word for powwow, or we don't say powwow in Hichiti, right? The Creek language doesn't have powwow, okay? But the point that I'm making is that so much of who we are is taught to us and accepted. But when you go to these powwows, which is where I was going with this, you will see our pale-skinned brothers, and we have to call them that because I believe there's a creator. We say father, mother, the great mystery.
For sure.
But we have our pale-skinned brothers there that will identify as Cherokee, Seminole, Creek, right? A lot of them represent us in reenactments, things of that nature. And they will say, I am a Muskukali, a Muskogee, or Cherokee, or Cherokee. No one questions that. They're not pretendians. The only time they become pretendians when it's nothing but white people there. But they're not pretendians, and that's accepted because when you go to the Cherokee Nation, they're predominantly and look like white people.
Yeah.
This is the narrative that also I talk about on our Instagram channel, right? The fact that there is federal information, federal documents that says there was a unique identity and look to the Creek Nation. Then they specifically talk about the white brothers and sisters who look predominantly like white men. Okay? The paper genocide happened when we start watching the movies.
Yeah.
When we start believing. Remember Dancing with Wolves? I can name a ton of Indian movies.
Yeah.
Right? Leonardo DiCaprio just did one recently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think Iron Cody, I just found out he was like Italian or something like that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and people who don't know who Iron Cody is the crying Indian, right?
Yeah.
And he had the hooked nose, and he was.
That's crazy. Wow.
Listen, it's facts.
Wow.
The thing that we have to do now is understand that they never expected us to read, so they documented everything. The best thing about Google is they digitize everything now, so everything that you need to know is now documented, and all you have to do is ask the right questions. Ask the right questions. You ask an AI right now something, it will give you an answer, but it may not give you the answer you want. You ask the right questions, it will give you the response, and it will give you what you want. That is the Google search system. So when we start asking these questions, Creek, Negroes, Black Indians, these different things, we're going to get the appropriate answer. The thing that I say to us and our people is the paper genocide starts with you believing what you was told. So first omit Black. Omit the black part.
Mm-hmm.
When you omit that part, because the black will be synonymous to Africans, and it will be a part of the whole African Americans mixed with the Indians, and this is what you get, and blah, 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 blah.
There you go.
But one of the things that I've done inside of our Instagram and everything, every chance I get, is I will search and show images of Seminole women, Creek women, and it will say Seminole squaw. And I'll stop and I'll say, let's pay attention now. Yes, she looks like your auntie. Yes, she's wearing the bangs with the bun in the 1700s. But what does it say? It does not say black Seminole. It does not say African Seminole. So when we start taking that part out and we start deep diving and looking and going back to the ancient Americas, and we start saying who was the first people that they saw, where are the depictions, when we start asking specifically, where is the information that goes against what history has been showing us, we'll find the answers that we want. So the paper genocide starts with our understanding and accepting the knowledge, what we've been taught. And it's so deeply rooted because our own people, people of color, will believe that narrative and will defend it. And they don't hear the Uncle Tom. They don't hear the slave mentality that was embedded in them when they say that. They'll defend the narrative that was given to them by their white oppressors, which is always topical, meaning that it is always something more recent than it is ancient. The real narratives lie before the more recent narratives, before Jim Crow, before Plecker, before, eugenics. Those are the answers you want, to find the narratives that deep dive into the historical aspect of what did they see when they got here 1500s.
That's right.
These are the things we're supposed to deep dive. Stop taking the topical information, the first thing that comes up on Google, and then utilizing that as your source of information. And I don't mean that when it comes to the Yamasi, because everything we got right now is right now topical. But so my point being that we have to look at this, and it's so scary because it's so complicated but simplistic. It's complicated because it forces people to think. If they think, then they'll say, "This doesn't make sense," and I got to deep dive. Right? That's the hardcore shit. But when it gets simplistic, you're like, oh my God, I see why. I see what it is. I see what it is. I had a conversation with a West Indies brother. Matter of fact, if you go on my Instagram channel, you'll see him talk about the West Indies are supporting us, Australia supporting us. And that was so monumental to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it was emotional. And we had a conversation afterwards. And I said it on a live later on. And I said to him, so we can prove that Native American people were sent to the West Indies, right? That's a fact. He said, yes, that's documented. No one can dispute that there was Native American people sent to West Indies. So I said to him, where are they at? Where are the people who look like the Indian people here in America? Where are they at in the West Indies? Where's this group of people who look like the, quote, Seminole people today, the Creek people today, the Cherokee people today?
It's a good question. Yeah.
The Lakota, because see, I'm attacking them now because now it becomes a problem. Like, no, stop. If they sent millions of Indians over to the West Indies, 1680 to 1750, let's just simplify it and say they just sent 51,000. How are you going to send 51,000 people to Jamaica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Antilles, Antigua? Name all of the countries and islands that make up the West Indies. It wasn't 51,000.
Wow.
Again, they said they sent more Indians over to the West Indies than they brought African people here. So there have to be a way more Indians over in the West Indies than there is people in America. Wow. Where are they at if they look like the people we see today? Just common sense questions. This is what they're scared of. Yes. The common sense questions. So now I'm going to tie it into you. When you go into my Instagram page, because everything that I provide is always a link and historical narrative.
Yes, sir.
And you look at the Bureau of Indian Affairs, these people, the Department of the Interior, who federally recognize people. They take the historical narrative and their historical proof that they're tied to a historical people, and they take that information and say, how are you connected to them? Okay, you're federally recognized. And so they become a federally chartered organization. And you look at the documentation they have, it says to you, oh, the Creek Nation did very well as a Negro nation. Oh, stop, back up. Hold on. The Creek Nation was a Negro nation? And they talk about a Creek Negro Indian who was controlling it in the late 1800s. Wow. See, all this ties back into the Indians that were sent to West Indies. See, you a lot of times people hear what I'm saying and they get caught up in what I'm saying at that particular time, but they never tie it all in. I'm trying to like, hey, let me lay this out here, and then y'all can figure out this part piece by piece, right? Because that's the part of the puzzle. But when we look at this part of it, now the question becomes, if the Creek people, and I can delve deep in that, you know me, I hate doing paraphrasing. I love quoting. But if we dive deep and we go into what it identified the Creek Nation as, there was not a Creek Indian that was not identified as a Negro. So I'll say real simple, where's the Negroes at? Oh, they're the freedmen now. Yep. They're the freedmen begging to be identified by those who was once not even considered Creek. That's documented. That's documented. That there was a different class of Creeks. The Creeks who were Creeks all looked like Negroes or considered Negroes to be Creeks. And then there was the mulattoes, there was the mixed breeds, there was those who looked even white. And I'm not going to leave this show without literally quoting that statement, because that is more powerful than anything else when it comes to our identity. And me saying to people, stop looking for acceptance. That's right. But the only way I can do that, if I take that away from you, I have to provide you with something, and I'm providing them with the historical narratives and facts. And this ain't me. Don't get mad. Don't want to kill me. Just understand we all have the ability to research and read. This is not me wanting to disrupt a system or society. This is me saying that we have been separated and taken away from our identity, so much so that people who are claiming to be African American don't even feel that connection. What is African about you? What do you do that's African? Let's do them better. Let's simplify all that. Let's simplify all of it. You're saying we all came together if you accept being African American. I came on the ship that you came on. Yet for some reason, Mr. British, Mr. German, Mr. Spaniard, the applications and surveys don't say British American. The job applications don't say German American. You're all foreigners if I'm a foreigner. Why is it that you uniquely want to say African American?
Trying to specify it, yeah.
Right. What are you keeping us from? See, no one's questioning this. We just accept it blindly. And I say, well, what do you do that's African? So throughout the years and over this last century, Kwanzaa, June 10th, Gullah Geechee, a word and term that wasn't even used until the 1980s.
That's what I was going to ask you about, yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And pushing the narrative. Why?
Yeah.
And the same people, the Gullah people that I talked to, my grandmother was full-blooded Indian. Okay, so back up. And Indian tribes is matrilineal. It's a matrilineal society. So if your grandmother is, you are.
It's through the mother. Yeah.
It's through your mother. You got a grandmother, that means you got a mother. What was she? It gets real. Listen, I'm here to start problems. I'm gonna be in trouble for this one too.
We're gonna be part of the problem tonight. We're gonna be part of the problem.
It's gonna be a problem.
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Common sense, right? You would watch football growing up, of course, Washington Redskins. And until I got older, I would realize, his skin is just as dark as mine on that logo. Florida State Seminoles, same thing. The Olmec statues found in Mexico, they had wide noses.
Right.
Black features. Why is it so hard for Black people here in America to accept that these people look just like you? And there's so much evidence out there that it's right in your face, whether it was the Cleveland Indians, Boston Braves at the time, they'll have a young Black child go out there with feathers on everything. But now, like, we can't even fathom that we can be indigenous to this same land.
Because of what you just started out the conversation with. Why is it so hard to believe, or for black people to believe? Because that's what we do. We start out with that. Black.
Yep.
Right?
That's the terminology.
Right?
Yeah.
So, what I like to say is real simple. Caleb, I owe you $1,000. I owe you $1,000. Next month, Caleb, I know I ain't paid you. I'm gonna make sure I get that $800 to you.
It's gonna start getting lower and lower.
Right?
Yeah.
This is black. When they said red man, matter of fact, I'll do one better for African American people. Light-skinned women was called what?
Red bone.
Oh, let's stop.
Copper colored people. Yeah. Put a
Called
penny
what?
in their hand. Yeah.
Light skin.
Yep.
Red. Right?
Right.
That's the truth of it. Even when it comes to the word Indian, the root word, I hear these brothers who are historically astute and self-taught, and they say, oh, the word Indian comes from indigenous. Wrong. Came from indigo. What is indigo? See, when you start getting to the root of a thing, the indigo is what they saw in the color of the people. So now when I look at my lighter skinned brothers and sisters, because that's what I call them, you don't look indigo to me. You don't look red to me. Your hair isn't wavy, isn't copper tone. It's the same thing they did to Jesus. Yahshua HaMashiach, Emmanuel, whatever you want to name him, right?
Yeah.
The Bible that they put right in front of everybody, they describe him completely.
They got a whole different picture.
Oh my God, what they say? Bronze.
Yes.
Burnt.
In a furnace.
Okay.
Hair like wool.
Okay, but we got images in black churches all around the world of what?
It's a hippie.
White man, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Opposite to what we're being taught. And again, I'm not trying to step on people's toes, but I'm talking about let's take information and read it the way it is. This is why the book is translated. The word translate means to change. When you read something in its original language, when you go back to the root of it, Negro, black. Anyone who's Spanish knows. Morenos.
Yep.
All means what?
Black.
Black.
Yeah.
But then we say, my shirt's black.
Shirt's black, yes.
My skin is. Well, how would you
Red.
define me?
It's red. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Go back to, I owe you $1,000, but it's $800 next month. This is the part of what I'm saying to those of us. Every Native American tribe I've met, every federal petition I've met, all use Jim Crow and the Plecker Law and eugenics and all the different things to argue their federal petitions. They have to identify as Negroes to be recognized as an Indian tribe. Think
That's
about
deep.
that.
That's deep.
Southeast Indians
Wow.
that apply has to prove they have Negro in them to be recognized. Don't believe me? Look it up, check it out. My argument has always been to them, why is the Yamasi a problem? I can tell you why the Yamasi is a problem. Because we're the only tribe that look like we were identified. How do I fake being a Negro? They be like, oh, y'all pretendians. How do you fake being a Negro? If this is a description of my people, how do I pretend to be something that I, quote, look like? But you're descendants of us. Let's do one better. They say Seminole, Seminole, Cimarron, Maroon. So I hear my Maroon brothers say, oh, we're Maroons.
Yep.
To them, that equates to African. No, it doesn't. Cimarron, runaways, wild ones, the runaways. And you'll hear Seminole people say, no, that's not true. Well, I got links in our IG that says, yes.
They don't want for that to come out.
They don't want that to come out.
Yeah.
Because, see, they don't know. They're still following the same oppressors that they say oppress them. They're following their information. Most of the websites and information you get in Native American tribes that they say is oral tradition isn't oral tradition. It is a regurgitation of what the Europeans said.
It's written tradition. Yeah.
Right? But when we look at the word Seminole, runaway, you're going to tell me those you see as Seminoles today look like Negroes on a slave plantation. That the colonists couldn't mistaken them. Those my Negroes. You're going to tell me that the slave narratives inside of the court documentation, the judicial system that they have within the Lord proprietors, and all of the documentation that they have, which identified these as people as Negro that came off a ship, because that's what they did. They falsified paperwork. what do they call them? What is the terminology? I'm looking. I just had to come up with this the other day. Not the memoir, the manifesto.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Aaron, hey, he on it with the document.
I appreciate
so,
you.
That's gonna be 100%.
Yeah, thank you. So in the manifesto, it says from Africa, blah 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 blah. Right? So how do you, as this light-skinned brother, say that I look like my original people, I'm full-blooded, and you don't look like none of what they described your people as? But I can show you where the Creek people all identified as Negroes. Matter of fact, I can even show you where books say the invention of the Creek Nation, which people hate when I do that.
Wow.
When I sat before Stephen Hahn and we had the 300th year anniversary for the Yamasee War, and the question was asked, it sounds like you're saying, what was the difference between a Creek and a Yamasee? And the man paused, and you could see him breathe like, I got to really answer this. He said there was none. Why? Because the Yamasee were identified as Negro. The word Creek was invented for the purpose of treaties. They could not beat the Yamasee. And this is truth, and this is something people can look up. From the Yamasee War of 1715, which is when the West Indian slave trade just coincidentally stopped.
Wow.
To the Seminole War and Third and Second Seminole War. Let's go back. What is a Seminole? A runaway. A Seminole. Runaways from the slave plantations. I mean, are we putting it together? Are we putting it together? It's why movie productions and documentaries are coming now and coming to us and coming to me and saying, hey,
right.
we need you in this, because they need to be factually correct in their documentation. And it becomes a problem to people who say, he don't look like us.
That's right.
He don't look like us. He's pretending. I can talk this way. I can do this. I speak the language. I can sit here and put on, a little Ebonics and sound like a native person. I can walk in the hood and I can sound hood. We got white people that walk in the hood. You can't tell them from a black person. You just close your eyes and listen to him. He sound like, right? Does that make him who he is? No. So yes, we can play the game if we wanted to. We have Yamasee people that look like modern day Indians, but they will tell you that I look this way because my ancestors was raped. That is the true acceptance.
Yeah.
That is the truth amongst people today. 2 years, 3 years ago, before COVID, we had the end of the world as we knew it. When everyone of color said enough is enough against people of color. Enough is enough. George Floyd changed the whole dynamics of the world.
That was major, yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Different countries, Native people, no one said anything derogatory against a person of color at that point. We're all team tired. COVID came in, separate, y'all, good. Y'all stay away from each other. And then everybody went right back to their typical racist way of thinking and ideology. It took that much for people to start forgetting what we first united for, what we got tired of.
Wow.
And went back to the normal. So now you have people like myself and my people and my tribe and people who are searching for themselves, who now have to say that equality that you want now, Mr. Native Indian, is what we fought for and gave our lives for you. Because that's one thing they can never take about or take away from the Yamasee, that we fought for no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity. Yes, we put people in slavery, but our slavery was different compared to theirs. But we fought for them. We was the first Coast Guard. Wow. See, that is a part of Black history people don't even know.
Wow.
We was the first Coast Guard for the North Atlantic region, the seaboard.
Say Black people are afraid of water, though, right?
Oh, we Black, we afraid of water.
Yeah.
But as Creeks, we traveled up and down the water. Think about that one.
Wow.
We did that. So, again, yeah, and that's why I was telling you before we started the interview, I have so much in my head and so much information that I have that I try to express, and not in ways that I'm dictating to people, but in ways that entices you to think and research for yourself. Don't take what Chief Sekou is saying. Go and research it for yourself.
Yes,
and if you still doubt that, go to our Instagram page, and I try my best to provide as many links and information as I can so that you are guided. But stop taking the narrative and stop being embarrassed to be who you are.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I have Creek brothers and sisters that look white. I have Creek brothers and sisters who look modern day Indians, and I have Creek brothers and sisters who look like us. And I identified me as chief, who thank me every day for sharing this message because they know they cannot change the historical narrative. And they need me to be able to explain for them why they're Creek, why they're Yamasi, what happened. And those are the people we honor more than anything. Those who accept and say, yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, I look white, but my blood has Negro in it. So I apologize again.
Hey, we cooking up. I love this. Yamasi people, strong people, of course, fighting all of that. Andrew Jackson, what impact did he have on the men of the tribe, having to hide, change their names, all of that?
Most of the colonists' superheroes
Right.
are on the money.
Dang, that's true.
I like to say they
That's
banked
true.
on them. Let's do that. They banked on them.
Literally.
Right? So when you look at Andrew Jackson, who has a whole Yamasi region, Timucua, Wale region, Jacksonville, named after him. Right? No one's saying let's change Jacksonville, but you're talking about one of the most racist men there was. What he did was what most typical white people did. What people don't realize in the colonial society was it was customary. We watch their videos and we watch their history, like the Game of Thrones and all different things, right? And you see men on men and things like that. That's fine. But this is what they did to men. They would take a man's manhood.
Buck breaking, yeah, things like
100%.
that. Yeah.
But they went deeper than that. They would take the innocence of a child.
Wow.
This is who Andrew Jackson was. The same society that we have today, that if you went and slept with a little 13-year-old girl, you'd be in jail. They did.
Thomas Jefferson did that. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
The history of these people are something that we don't have to question. We know time and time again. The only thing we have to say, which is why we're looking at, as we learn history, they're trying to change the narrative of history. So we don't want you to tell the story of these people who made you as white people rich because you didn't have to do their work. Let's not tell that slave trade. I don't want to say no particular governor's name. Let's not tell that story because I don't want my children to feel guilty over something their ancestors did. But then you'll turn around at the same time and acknowledge, memorialize African-American history, which means you accept that you were slaves. You accept that you did and were this to my people. But don't teach that ish to my children in school to make them feel bad about themselves because white children now are waking up and saying, I come from this type of society where now I have to recognize people's rights and how they want to identify and who they are.
Yeah.
But let's hide what my people did. So you're making the ultimate hypocrites. You want them to be the ultimate hypocrites. As long as we're together as two men, I should accept that. As long as we're together as two women, I can accept that. But what we did to black people or African Americans, let's push that to the back. Think about that. This is what Andrew Jackson and the rest of these people did. This is the society they created. And as we move forward in a country who boasters, we're the most free country in the world.
Land of the free.
We're the most rich country in the world.
Yeah.
We will suppress the history of the people and what we did to them because we don't want that thrown in our face. And it's what I tell people about the whole aspect of the historical Band-Aid. We keep putting a Band-Aid on something. It will never heal until we address what has happened to the suppressed people that we did it to. You're going to other countries today and think about America as a society. We're going to other countries to give them freedom as slaves, but we hide the history of what we did to our slaves. That makes sense to everybody.
Democracy.
Oh, democracy. Democracy. And the hypocrites that we are, we accept that. We went over there and saved them people. They're free now. Their women have rights. And we ain't got rights. We don't have rights. An Asian person come over here, a Japanese person come over here and get any kind of racial discrimination or murder or killed, there's money thrown at that community for that issue.
It's a fact.
And when one of us get killed, it's, well, what did he do to do it? Like, we don't walk into stores and we're not talked down to by Asian people who look at it a certain way, because America teaches, and this is documented. Go look it on TikTok. Go, y'all look it up, because now that's what digital society. Foreigners tell you that when we come over here, we're taught how bad black people are.
Like that, man. That's scary that you said that.
Come on, man.
I just saw that on TikTok.
Come on.
Yep.
We're taught how bad you are. So now they come here opening up businesses that you can't open. No money, no credit. And they'll talk down to you, but take your money.
And sell you your own
hair products.
Wow.
Olay is changing my shower game with 5 skincare benefits. Olay Super Serum Body Wash.
A solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Let's talk about your potential today.
We don't understand how messed up this is. Again, let me shut up because I'm causing problems.
Hey,
I'm trying to be here till I'm 90 or 120.
Hey, we're going to make sure that you're going to be good. Hey, you already protected.
That's what's up, family.
You already protected. But that's powerful. Yamasee tribe as well had a lower and upper chieftain. Yes. How massive was this tribe?
Our tribe, the Yamasee tribe, had the largest chieftain. Matter of fact, before, you can look this up, before there was ever a Cherokee upper and lower region, there was the Yamasee upper and lower region. Right now, we've calculated there was well over 400 towns and villages that spanned from the top of North Carolina, because people fail to realize there was, and see, they try to do is, oh, they're from South Carolina, and no, there was no South Carolina, there was the Carolinas originally.
That is
right.
True. Yep.
And then it expanded over to Alabama and Louisiana, all the way down to Florida.
Wow.
Right? So we went from almost the Midwest all the way over to the Southeast. Why is it no one's questioning? Why don't the Native American people in the Southeast, the Lumbee, name them, right? The Catawba, any of these tribes, Seminole people, why they don't look like the Lakota, the Apache?
On the West Coast?
Yes.
Got you.
Right? That confederacy. We had a unique identity. The Yamasee had one of the largest confederacies there is. And people don't understand that. Why was the Yamasee War so detrimental? Why was it considered the bloodiest war? See, they'll stop and say, when we went, we started out with 19,000 of us. So you mean to tell me 19,000 Yamasee, and people will say, oh, it wasn't just 19,000 Yamasee, it was a conglomeration of different tribes that helped the Yamasee. No, that's not what Oglethorpe and Craven said. They said all these are Yamasee. That's documented. But 19,000 people, I bring all my brothers and warriors, all you all who's watching this, and I say, we're finna go to war. You're just twiddling your thumbs at 19,000. We only killed 400 white people, though, in Charleston.
No.
So it took 19,000 people to kill 400 people.
No.
It wasn't considered the bloodiest war because of their numbers. What they could not do is never look like they were the victims.
That's right.
Which is why our name was also written out of history. Which is why there was no longer Yamasee. We became known as Creek. We're no longer Creek. We became known as Seminoles. You see? Again, back to it. It's always going to go back to the paper genocide.
Wow.
Because they knew at this point, at some point, people going to read. And they're going to see these Negro Indians that wreaked havoc. And then you'll go back to the Seminole history and you'll pull up these Indians who are not identified as African or Black Seminoles. And they are looking dynamically Black. And you'll say the Yamasee were identified as Negroes. In the late 1900s, they still had Seminoles who looked like Negroes. And these are the same Negroes that was fighting. It changes the dynamics and the way of thinking. That we are a warrior society that was peaceful. But we looked a certain type of way. That Confederacy expanded. And you will see it within the realm of the ancient text and identity amongst the Catawba, who people says, the Yamasee are my ancient people. The Cherokee, who has several chiefs that when it came time to go to war, said, those are my ancient people. What do they mean by ancient people? You have ancient people in your bloodline. That's why you're here, right?
Yes, sir.
You got to look like them.
Because I came from them.
Because I came from them. So my point is that it goes way deeper than most people think. And I'm really trying to give enough information that allows them to take contextual portions of what I'm saying. And if they don't get nothing else, that hits home. That's something I remember him saying. That makes sense. Wow, let me look that up. I try to give enough information that we can take little bits and pieces. And I hope that everyone, comes back and eventually play this podcast back and don't just listen to it, watch
Notes,
it.
yeah.
Take notes.
For sure.
Come back, watch it. Damn it, if it takes you making this podcast 1 million views, do that, because there's so much that I'm sharing